Welcome to the Open to Hope show. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Horsley, with my daughter and co-host,
Dr. Heidi Horsley.
Well, Heidi, we have got a great group of women here today, don't we?
We do. I'm excited.
Yeah. And, you know, it's really interesting to have this many people on our show. We don't usually do that, but you're going to find out that one of them has gotten everybody together to start a whole new project. And it's involved with grief, loss, hope, and healing. And I want to say to you that grief, you know, you think of grief as being a sad thing and we'll never get over it and we don't talk about it. And, you know, people say we're a death-denying society, but you know what, Heidi? I think we're a life-affirming society.
Absolutely, Mom. And all these women have come together to really give people hope because they have all had different kinds of losses and they have all found hope after loss, and they are a lot of fun to be around, and I'm excited to do the show with them.
Mm-hmm. You want to introduce them all? And,
I would love to.
Just talk about their loss a little bit, too.
So Lynda Cheldelin Fell is the creator of the Grief Diary book series, which brought all these women together. And she's a dynamo. she really is. And we've done a show with her before. Mm-hmm. And she is the executive director of National Grief and Hope Convention. Mm-hmm. And with her today, joining her, is Carol Scibelli, who we've also had on the show before.
Mm-hmm. She's our great comedian, Carol.
She is like the funniest comedian on earth.
That's widow on earth. That's
true.
She's also the funniest widow on earth.
Yeah, and we met her at Soaring Spirits Foundation, Michelle Neff Hernandez, and she told one joke that I laughed and laughed, but it's X-rated and cannot be told on this show.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
And she has written about surviving the loss of a spouse in the Grief Diaries. And then today we also have joining us Lynda Bateman Gomez, and she has written about surviving the loss of an infant in the Grief Diary series.
Thank you for having me.
Hello.
And you're involved with lip.
I am.
Tell me what it is again.
Lip plumpers.
Plumpers.
I need some of that after
we
the
want
show.
to find out after the show. We want to know how to get our lips.
Gloria doesn't need it so much, but I do.
No, you both have great lips. But we can say
Oh, good. Yeah.
Okay, and then we've got Christine Duminiak. Did I say that right?
Perfect. Right.
Okay, she is written in the Grief Diaries about surviving the loss of a parent and surviving the loss of a newly bereaved child. Is that correct?
a miscarriage.
Okay,
Miscarriage.
A miscarriage.
And she's one of our Open to Hope authors.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Writers, and we've also had her on our radio show.
And I love that
so she's one of our peeps.
I love it, and I love that she's talking about miscarriage because I have had 2 miscarriages, and it is the most minimized, unacknowledged loss I think out there. So, thank you for giving voice to it.
Oh, sure.
I had a miscarriage too. Can I throw that in?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Five.
Well,
There we
all of
go.
you.
Everybody.
Is that
but
incredible?
Aw,
I'm a
It
lucky
is,
one.
it is
You're the lucky
amazing
one.
the number of women that are out there that have had this kind of a loss, and they often don't even know that anybody else has until we give it voice, and then it's like all of a sudden, wow, we're not alone.
It's true.
1 out of 6, I think.
Wow, that's amazing.
Well, they often feel like it's minimized
Yeah,
compared to
made it
other
up. I just made it up.
losses.
Yes.
And
No, I
so on some level they invalidate their own grief. They don't allow themselves to grieve the loss of that, yet it is a loss of a pregnancy.
Absolutely.
And
the
the
loss
future
of
of that,
Yes, because you know, the
Yeah.
day we get pregnant, it's like we've already visualized
we're planning
our
the
future.
clothing and the bassinet and
Totally.
the nursery and
Yes.
The due date.
yes.
Exactly.
You really have
Oh,
a
completely.
date. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you're counting on your fingers.
And we bond. We bond
Yes.
from day one.
Yep.
Absolutely. I always say, you know, when we give birth, we've already known that child for 9 months. We've already had that
Yes.
kind of connection.
Yes.
Right.
Pretty
Longer
powerful.
than anybody else. So, Lynda, how did you get all these women together? Tell us what brought everybody
Kinda
together.
like
Your own
wrangling
story.
cats. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
Your own story
You
about
know,
how
it
you
felt
ended up deciding to do a series.
well. It came after the National Grief and Hope Convention last year in April 2015. It was so powerful when bereaved people come together. You know, it transcends all differences, no
Now
matter
they're
what
going to
your
wonder, say what your bereavement is again for our audience.
loss of a
because-
child. I lost our 15-year-old daughter, Allie, in a car accident in 2009. And so I created this convention to bring people together of all losses. And after that convention, it was so powerful in the friendships that were born, because again, grief is one of those things that transcends all differences regardless of your socioeconomic economic background, your religious beliefs, your language, any of that. It's something that affects everybody. It's universal. And so these people come together and start sharing their own stories, and it was pretty powerful. And I thought, what do we do with this? And I have to give you the backstory a little bit here. 2 years before Allie's accident, I had a dream that Allie was a backseat passenger in a car, and I was in the car, and we flew off the road and landed in a lake, and Allie sunk, and she didn't survive. And I remember in the dream trying to find her. It was just terrible. And the only evidence that she left behind was an open book floating face down on the surface of the water where she disappeared. And shook me up so much that I actually sought out a psychic medium, because it was just, I had this, oh my gosh, you know, and so fast forward 2 years later, we lost Allie as a backseat passenger in a car accident. And
Coming home from a swim meet.
Yeah. And so after the convention, I thought, what do we do with all these stories? And Grief Diaries was born. And Grief Diaries is a series of books about ordinary people facing extraordinary challenges.
Wow.
And we started out with 8 losses, you know, loss of a spouse, loss of an infant, loss of a child, loss of a parent, sibling, loss of a loved one that didn't fit in, you know, like uncles and aunts and step-parents and such. And we just released our 9th one, How to Help the Newly Bereaved. But one of the books coming out, May 30th, is Loss of a Pregnancy. And in every book is a collection of people's stories, because it's so much richer than one perspective alone. And so that's, that's the Grief Diaries series. But it actually, even though I've never forgotten the dream that I had about Allie 2 years before she passed, I had not correlated that book floating face down on the surface that was left as the only evidence of her until just recently. And boy, it was like that lightning bolt hitting you like,
so
wow.
it really was a foreshadowing of things to come.
I now
so
believe
let's
it was
talk about
divine
some of your
glimpse.
folks that you've got doing the book. Show your book and tell us about it.
I was part of Loss of an Infant. Lost my son Chad in 1986. He was a SIDS baby, 2 months old. 3rd child. And one of the most devastating things, not one of the most devastating thing that I'd ever been through my entire life. The reason I wanted to do the book was because, and as you know, we talked just a little bit earlier, when I got better, and meaning to a point where I thought life does go on and life gets good again. And silly and funny, and you laugh, because in the midst of it, I wanted to die and really didn't think there was life after this.
So you
didn't
wanted
think
to
anything
share
would matter.
that. Great.
And
Carol, how
started
about
working
you?
with Compassionate Friends.
Show us
I don't
your
think I ever wanted to die, but maybe it's different with a spouse. This is Grief Diaries, Loss of a Spouse. I wrote the, what's that called again?
Forward.
Thank you. And that was interesting, because what happened was there are 18 questions, and my husband passed away in 2006. And a lot of the things that were asked I hadn't thought about in quite a long time. And as I wrote in the forward, I said, it's like you're actually holding in your hand a bereavement group, because you get to see the same answer to the same question, different answers to the same question. It was like, wow, everybody really does have a different take, a different outlook, and they experience this very same, but it's never the same, in such a different way. It's really fascinating to read it and to be part of it, really.
Yeah, that's great. And you also wrote the book, a little book called Poor Widow Me.
I did.
And you are a great comedian, and people can find you on our show. And how else have they found you? We'll find out
thank
more
you.
for you.
My website is poorwidowme.com, or my name, carolscibelli.com.
All right. And if you need a comedian for something,
Yeah.
you got it.
Oh my God.
And so Christine, how did you get involved with
Loss of a parent? Well, actually, in 1998, my dead in-laws showed up in my bedroom one night and stayed for an hour. and they kept coming back.
Wow.
And it pushed me into the field of what's this about, afterlife contacts and signs. And my parents were my biggest champions. They would love to listen to the stories of they knew them, showing up in my bedroom.
Yeah.
So it prepared me to help other people when they lost their loved ones to look for contacts and signs. And so when my dad passed, I was getting signs all over the place. It was so joyful that he visited me right after he passed, and with Frank Sinatra music, because I played Frank Sinatra music for him when he was in the hospital. So the day of the funeral, I mean, everyone's sad, but I'm like, my dad's not alive. He's not dead. He's alive. He's visiting me. Could be better. And I had to try not to smile, but I was so happy about the contacts. And that led me to go on and to help other people and write 3 books about afterlife signs and, and your loved ones are still like angels on your shoulders and what to look for. So my work is really joyful work. It's like, it's like you're making new memories with your loved ones. And so it was really important to me when my parents died that I was getting signs from them because I could still be happy and smile and look for the next sign. And they still visit me. My dad died in 2000. He was here today patting the top of my head.
Are you happy with what we're doing?
Oh, he loves it. He always comes to everything I do, too. And my mother died in 2004, and she tickles the side of my face. But they have other signs that they give me,
So you
too.
can
that are
actually
really
feel them.
fun. Yes.
You said the in-laws come.
The in-laws, yeah. They
I don't know if
stopped
that's
coming.
a comforting thought or a frightening
They started to move in with me, and I said, oh my goodness, I'm going to the bathroom and they're here.
Now, how can we find you on the web?
You can just go to my website, ChristineDuminiak.com, and you can see all my books. And I've contributed to a number of Lynda's books, so yeah.
Good. And how can we find you?
Well, my
Lynda.
company.
Yes,
is-
your lip
Yes,
cover
there's
company,
two
right,
Lyndas.
Lynda? Yeah, Lynda with an I and Lynda with a Y.
Yeah,
Okay.
The company is fulllips.com.
Okay.
And,
Good. All right.
anybody
all
contacts
right,
me
all
through
right.
there,
And how are
we
people going to find your
yes.
books?
GriefDiaries.com.
Okay. And what's the future for everybody?
Well, we've got 9 more books coming out May 30th.
Will you have 9 books coming out on May 30th?
Yes.
Wow,
We've got-
Lynda, you're busy.
She's
Yeah,
so
that's
busy.
A little bit,
You have like a
yeah.
total of 30 so far,
This year.
right? 30?
Yeah, and it's really interesting. Candy Leitner, who you mentioned earlier, she wrote the foreword for one of our books coming out May 30th.
Candy Leitner is our lady who started Mothers Against Drunk Driving.
Yeah,
Yes.
so she wrote the foreword of Loss
great.
at the Hands of an Impaired Driver.
Oh, good.
and
I
for
know she's
Forrest.
very involved with impaired driving now.
Yeah, so that's a book we have coming out. So we have a number of, because loss affects people in many different ways.
Yeah.
And so I'm busy with a lot of
And you're
different
doing a
books.
radio show too.
I put that on hiatus
okay.
to focus on the books. And there's only so many hours in a day, and I can do about 18 and then I'm done. And yeah.
Right. Well, what I want to do is kind of go around and get a piece of advice from everybody.
I like that.
You're going to start what?
Lynda?
Lynda, yeah.
It gets better. That's the reason I did it, to let people know, just hang in there. There's no right or wrong way to grieve. Just get through it, and life does get better.
All right.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Oh my God!
Got to come up with something else real
I'll come up
quick.
with something else. Let's see. I think you have to hold on to yourself and realize that we're still alive, and life does get better.
Yes.
You got it. She said it. That's it.
I would like people to know that your loved ones can still see and hear you, and they continue to be a huge part of your life. So it's never too late to say, I love you, I'm sorry, I forgive you, forgive me. And you can even write that in a letter to them. And just think of them as an angel on your shoulder, because they truly are. And if you look for the signs, if you know what the signs are, you will be able to notice how much they are around you.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Love that.
So my words of wisdom is that you're not alone. You might not see everyone on the journey. There's some ahead of you, some behind you, and some beside you, but you're not alone. And there's a lot of comfort in that.
I love that. Well, now what I want to talk a little bit is about community, because you guys are in community. Lynda, why should people be in community?
Support, love.
What are you getting for these guys
What do I get?
from being around
Oh.
other?
a lot of laughs. For
Yeah.
one thing. Really funny.
There's no shortage of that, is there?
No, and I think like anything else, when you find other people that want to get together and help other people, you cannot go wrong because
Yeah.
that's the kind of people you just want to be
Yeah,
with.
I always say, I know you've been involved with the Compassionate Friends for 25 years, Lynda, and I always say there are so many angels on this earth, and you really meet them when you do this work.
Oh,
It's incredible,
no
right?
question.
Yeah,
No
well
question.
said.
And I'm anxious to.
Yeah, tell our audience a little bit about Compassionate Friends because we haven't talked about that.
You
It's
know-
a 700 chapter.
Yes, and actually, I think you could probably give a whole lot better advice. But when I realized that I could make a difference, like someone from Compassionate Friends did for me, I called and said, "How? What do I do next?" And I ended up doing and still do phone work primarily. And so anytime, day or night, 7 days a week, someone can call me. And it's usually the mom when she's ready.
Yeah.
But friends will call and say, you know, here's a mom, or it might be a dad or a grandparent. It's typically the moms. But, and then we talk. We talk when they're ready. Sometimes they just need somebody to listen, but that's what and Compassionate Friends says, I'm here for you anytime. I've been there. I made it through.
Yeah.
I want to help you, and life gets better.
Right.
You can get through this.
So the death of a child, Heidi, who's the Compassionate Friends for?
Death of a sibling or a child or a grandparent.
Okay. Carol,
Well, I'll tell
La-
you this.
yeah.
Yeah, what was the question?
we were talking about community, but I'm thinking about you can't have laughter without a community, basically.
Yeah, because
She is
basically
our
who's going to
laughter.
laugh? Who's going to, there's no audience.
Exactly.
Right, but being part of the same loss is incredibly helpful to everybody. It really is amazing to have someone say, you felt that way? I felt that way. You did that? I did that. And people, I mean, intellectually we know that we're all human beings and of course we would be reacting the same way. But still, it feels great to know that the other people are feeling the same way. We're not nuts. Well, some of us are, but they were nuts before.
Some more
probably.
than others,
It's fun to
right?
be nuts, though,
It's fun
isn't
to
it?
be nuts. But a lot of it is laughter. A lot of it is getting back to the world and being part of the world, and not so much in the grief community. Within the grief community, we always say that, which is wonderful, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Christine.
Well, back in 2000, I was finding my dad had passed, and there were so many people desperate to get a sign from a loved one. And it broke my heart because I was getting so many, and I was so happy because of that. So I founded After Death Communication and Prayer Wave, which is a Facebook page, where people can come and we pray for them every Friday to get a sign from their loved ones. And then it's a safe place to share your signs, because you can't always share with other people. They think that you're crazy or you're hallucinating, especially if they're not spiritually minded. So it's a safe place to go and share to share your feelings and your signs, and we rejoice for you. But I've met so many people who said, I was going to commit suicide until I came to your group. They prayed for me, and I got a sign, and that kept me going. And I've seen so many people heal because of those signs.
Well, and I think part of what brings comfort to a lot of people with signs are, at the end of their lives, we want to make sure that our loved ones were at peace.
Yes.
And it's really frightening to think they weren't. I mean, I think of my brother and cousin. They died in a very fiery car accident. And I just wanted to know that my brother didn't suffer and that he was at peace at the end. And it does. It brings so much comfort to a lot of people to know, okay, yes, they're at peace and, they're still with us in spirit.
Yes, and actually, what I've learned in my spiritual journey is that they cannot contact us. They don't have those supernatural powers unless they're with God. So they have to be with God in order to be able to do that. And that is what should give people peace when they get that sign. They're okay.
Absolutely.
So have other people gotten signs?
Rainbows.
Rainbow.
I like that.
That's a big one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rainbows.
Rainbows.
That's nice.
Carol, you have
I
not
don't
had a
know.
sign.
I haven't had a sign. What does that mean? That means that my husband is not at peace? He's not with God?
That doesn't mean
You
that.
know
doesn't
what?
like me?
I love,
You found
I
someone
love
else?
that you have not had a sign, frankly, because we have people come
like
up
it.
to us and say, you know, I haven't had a sign, you know, should I be getting one, and, you know, that kind of thing, and, you know.
Maybe it's sometime just not knowing what the sign is.
That's why I
Or,
wrote
yeah,
that's why I wrote
not
my first
recognizing
book,
it.
God's Gift of Love After Death Communications, so people could read about the signs, and I explain it in full. And this way, you say, well, I want a butterfly. So you say, ask God, let your loved one come to you, and then say, I want a butterfly.
Oh.
And when you get that butterfly,
Carol.
you
Yeah,
know
you
what
got
kind
it.
of
Well,
sign.
There are a lot of butterflies around. You can
What
look it
kind of
up.
sign do you want,
I'd
Carol?
probably get a caterpillar.
What kind of sign do you want?
Caterpillar. Now you're going to get one. You guys fun.
More than one.
I don't want that.
We're going to check in with you next
Oh,
year.
We'll send her some in the mail.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
Make sure you. I want everybody to hold their books up
Okay.
together.
Yes,
I'm
please do. I think it's so
really,
wonderful that
they're
you all
just so
have them.
great. I love it. Okay.
We have to give them a book too,
You guys
Lynda.
are such a great, fun community. And Lynda, I wanted to ask you, why do you write? Because I know people are telling us everybody here writes.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think writing does for people?
I know what it did for me.
Yeah.
It gave me a chance to take the compassionate friends thing that I do one-on-one and hope that it would reach a whole lot more people. And it also, as I put these things down, memories like it happened yesterday, and then it made me feel better. It was almost like putting it down on paper was kind of another healing step. I had always knew all those things.
Some people
but putting
also
it
say
down,
that you don't have to remember things. Once you write them down, there are things that you don't
Oh,
have to
that's
remember.
a really
Right.
good point.
Lynda, why did you
Right.
start this whole thing? What do you write? Why did you write?
Because expressive writing is very therapeutic for many people. And I have to admit that I resisted it. I didn't want to. I thought, who would want to read such a Debbie Downer?
Mm-hmm.
And yet I found the act of putting pen to paper, oh my gosh, it just flowed out.
Now,
and
did
I
you
found it very healing.
when you say pen to paper, did you actually do pen to paper, or did you use a computer?
That's pretty picky. Don't you think that's a little? What's the
No, because
difference?
Carol, I only ask that because some people say that this actual
they're
movement
cathartic.
Actually, right.
It's cathartic.
is
I do.
helpful
I do both.
Because they don't know how
I'm
to
very
use a
proficient on
computer,
the
that's why.
keyboard, but
because they don't
They
want
don't know how to use a computer, so they oh yeah.
You know what?
God,
What I
there's
can't
nothing.
believe is that none of my grandkids know how to do cursive.
I know.
It blows my
Yeah,
mind.
they
not
quit
teaching
teaching
us.
it.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my.
No, they
Yeah,
don't
no.
know
How do you sign
It's
your
a long
They don't know how to do it
signature?
anymore.
Don't they teach it though? They do teach
No.
it.
My
to
kids don't.
first
My
grade
kids
or
don't.
something,
No.
just basic.
Yeah, I mean, when was the
Tail
last
it,
time
that's it.
one of your kids
My
said-
17-year-old doesn't know how to sign his name.
Yeah,
Maybe-
Does he
No,
print
I
it?
believe that.
Are you going to edit this
Okay.
out? Maybe
Print it.
that's not
They
too
don't
good
edit
to say
He
that.
knows how to. He knows how to sign it on a credit card.
That's where it
How
counts.
quickly they pick that up.
Absolutely. Well, what's your plan for the future with this whole thing? You're going to build your convention. You're going to get more writers. Where's it going?
We have over 280 writers
Wow.
signed
Okay.
up to share their story in a title this year.
That's great.
And they want to share their stories.
Mhm,
It gives them a
absolutely.
voice.
Mm-hmm.
And it also, for the reader feels not so alone. And so it's really a two-way street, pretty powerful stuff. I created a nonprofit coalition to house a convention under, and we are working on the 2018 convention.
Wow.
And and again, it's open to
So you're going to
everyone.
skip a year.
Well, yes, because we want to add some elements, and it's going to take more planning, more people, and so it just makes sense to not rush it. We want to do it right and grow larger and do some different things. So 2018.
You guys are shaking your heads. It sounds like you're
Yeah,
going
gonna be amazing.
I-
I personally, I was
welcome.
nodding off. I wasn't really saying anything. I'm sorry.
So where's your convention going to be?
We're right now investigating different venues. We're searching Atlanta, Branson, Missouri, Nashville,
Branson, that'd
and
be
so
fun.
we're visiting
Vegas?
around.
Vegas.
Well, you're coming no matter where we are.
know.
We're bringing you to us. We're
conventions
bringing you to
there.
us. Yeah. So we haven't picked a spot yet. We will within the next few months.
Now I'm thinking, if I'm a writer, can I write for you?
You
or-
can. And that's the beauty of Grief Diaries, is that you don't have to be a professional writer. We've got authors, have already written their own books, such as these ladies. And then we have people who've never written before. There's no right or wrong way. Just like with grief, there's no right or wrong way to grieve. There's no right or wrong way to share your story. The interesting part about Grief Diaries is that you're given questions and you answer the questions.
Oh, okay.
And so it's not a free-for-all.
Right.
It's a guided project. And it's amazing, though, when you ask a question, people have lots to say.
Yeah.
And so rather than if you just say, just tell me about your loss, they get, they're tongue-tied. And so by asking them guided questions, it just flows. And there's so many different areas of loss to explore. We've got so many titles, and I keep thinking, oh, I want to do that. Oh, I want to do that. Lynda and I were talking about doing a book for sex trafficking. Women who are victims, because that is a grief. I would love to do one for people who've spent time in prison. They have a story to share. It's not up to us to judge.
So you're
what
moving
they're-
beyond the grief and loss area into other losses.
They're types of grief. Yeah, they're different types of grief. It comes in many forms. Yeah.
And who edits all this? My goodness.
I have editors.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's great.
I have 4 different editors, and and they range from. We've got one who is close to 80 years old, but he comes with like 50 years of experience, and he does it the old method. He actually with paper and so I've got editors.
Well, you guys are amazing. Hold up your books again. Yes. In fact, when we go out of the show, when the music plays in a minute, you can just keep holding them up. And I want to thank everybody for watching our show today. And we hope you will tell people about it because, it's really through word of mouth that we have people know about Open to Hope. And we have so many resources, so many great people on, don't we, Heidi?
We do, absolutely.
And everything's tagged for content, so if you've had somebody who's lost a child, they can do child loss, you can do spouse loss, you can do parent loss.
Sibling loss.
Yeah, don't forget sibling loss. Heidi
Don't
always
forget
gets
us,
out there.
please.
The forgotten ones. Anyway, so there's so much that you can do. And Heidi and I always want to remind you that if you've lost hope, please lean on ours until you find your own, and God bless.